Hi, I'm Cal, and I'm doing a podcast for PBE, and I'm going to be playing Star Fox. Uh, and if you're on NSFL, you may have seen that I already did this once, but I wasn't able to beat the game because I had to fight Star Wolf, and I had never done that before. Um, at least not for a long time. And so I didn't remember that you couldn't use bombs or powered up lasers against them on the final stage, and so I got totally messed up. That was weak sauce. So I'm doing this again. So I'm gonna talk about first off my player Speedy Boy, who you might think is a meme player, but really uh, I just say boy a lot, and it's kind of stupid, but whatever. And I love Ricky Henderson, so I figured I'll try to honor him through my PBE player, since I can't honor him in real life because I suck at baseball. Uh, so that's what Speedy Boy is going to be, probably without as good of hitting, since it's going to be hard for me to earn enough TPE to make him both good at stealing bases, getting walks, and getting hits. So, sorry GMs if you were looking for a player that was going to be able to do all that stuff, but that's just how it's going to be with Speedy Boy. Um, I'm mostly concerned with making sure he can steal bases, which it looks like she should be able to do already, since he's already at 70 in base stealing and running speed. Um, so that's good. Um, According to my minor league GM, he's already pretty good in the outfield, so I'm pretty set with that. And if you care at all about watching me play, I'm not going to be taking the difficult route because I don't want to deal with Star Wolf. Um, so yeah. But anyways, so Speedy Boy is a good outfielder already. So now I'm gonna try to make sure he can get a bunch of walks, and that might not be the best way to get runs, but I'm trying to have fun with Speedy Boy. So I apologize to any GM that wants to draft me, but I'm gonna get my avoid K's really high and my I slash patience really high, and then I'm gonna steal a million bases every season. So I was talking with somebody about that, um, and about how uh, that's not the best way to do it. Casey Colby, I think is how you say it, was talking about the best way to build a speed demon, and I really appreciate his help with that because I didn't really know what to do. So I'm definitely taking what he said into account. But I think it was either Beaver or SLM. Both of them have been great minor league GMs so far. Um, but they told me and did tests on it that getting BA BIP high is really important, um, if I want to be effective whatsoever. Uh, and I thought, well, why don't I get avoid Ks and I slash patience really high, and then I'll get a ton of walks and no strikeouts. Um, he goes, yeah, that'll be good, but it's not as effective as getting your hits high, which makes sense. But when he was running test sims, he was paying attention to getting runs and on base percentage. And if I remember correctly, on base percentage was very similar. Uh, the on base percentage increased at a similar rate based on the amount of TPE you put into each of the attributes we were testing. But one thing that I was paying attention to that I'm not sure he was uh, the number of pitches, and I believe that in having a higher number of walks, that'll cause the pitcher to throw a way more pitches than they would if I were to get hits. Because I'm paying attention to what's in the strike zone and what isn't. So either I'm gonna get a walk, or I'm probably gonna get a fly ball out or whatever. But either way, every at bat, I'm probably gonna make the pitcher throw at least 8 pitches, and I think that's actually really valuable. Because I don't totally know about the majors, but in the minors, if we got the starting pitcher out of the game, then we were pretty set for the rest of the game. So I think that's a pretty valuable thing that's getting Avoid Ks and I/Patience up can provide. So I don't think any stats would really account for that. I don't think War would, but that's a way that I can justify having my player not have a high BABIP or power or any of those other stats. I'll either get on base and get walks or whatever. Maybe I'll get an infield single or something, but with my high speed, I should be able to get on base more often than others with similar low batting stats. And then when I am on base, my stealing is already happening at an 85%. Like for each time I try to steal, there's an 85% chance that Speedy Boy will steal a base. So that's already pretty dang good. So I'm pretty happy with that. So even though I won't be getting RBIs, I think I still should be getting a good number of runs. And then with the amount of pitches that the pitchers are going to be throwing at my player, I'm going to be providing something that other players might not. I think it's still something that'll contribute to the team. My goal is to be a great leadoff guy. So, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. At worst, I'm just the 9th person in the lineup, and then I get to enjoy racking up a ton of stolen bases. But whether or not GMs like it, I don't really plan on changing Speedy Boy's style. It's his name. You can't just say that, oh, it's not as good, it won't work very well, therefore you gotta change Speedy Boy. When I can't change his name, I'm not paying the money for that. So that's Speedy Boy. He's gonna steal every base, piss off pitchers, and that's how it is. So when it comes to PBE itself, I'm having a really good time with the sim. I was getting really pissed off because it would look like my hits were good and they'd go pretty far, and then they just wouldn't drop. And outfielders during the Minor League World Series sim would slide ridiculous lengths to get Speedy Boy's hits and turn them into outfield, I don't know, fly balls or whatever. But it was still a really good time. I love being on the Swifties. I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan, but I'll listen to her music, I guess. I'm just not really into pop music in general. But the sim is really, really cool. That's something that SHL is really, really missing out on. And there is somebody, actually, who's trying to fix that. Um, and, out of the park baseball isn't the most robust sim when it comes to visuals. But it's still really cool to see your player hit the ball and run around the bases and whatnot. So, whoever's idea it was to use out of the park baseball, I think that was a great choice. Um, it makes it a lot more interesting because like with SHL, I barely follow The Sims anymore. I'll wake up and I'll take a look at it and go, oh, my player's pretty garbage, and that's it. Whereas with this, I look forward to it on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I get home from work and I can turn on the sim while I'm making dinner or something. So that's pretty great. Um, so now I guess I'll talk about equipment. When I looked at equipment, I was really surprised because it's super expensive, but you can get a ton of TPE every season from it. Um, like I think on SHL it's only in the 20s. You get like 28 each season. Um, 16, 24. You get 32 from uh, equipment each season on NSFL. And then I think on here it was some huge amount. So yeah, like you can get 12 from your what's it called? From your strength training alone or something. I know there's one where you can get 12 into anything you want, and that's just crazy. And it's awesome too. So it kind of makes it make sense though. Uh, how much TPE it takes to increase your batting stats. I was pretty surprised at first. It's like 4 from 30 to 70. I was like, well, now I'm glad that I chose non batting stats, but with how much TPE you can get from equipment each season, it doesn't seem like such a big deal anymore. Even with the huge price tag, I've been told it's really easy to get money on PBE. So we'll see how true that is. I'm doing my best with graphics. Um, by the way, I'll do a shameless plug right now. I do make graphics for other people, and I'm not going to ask anyone to pay me because I know I can get paid for submitting them to the league graphics page or whatever. But I would appreciate a donation if anyone's willing. And I make gift sigs, so they don't always turn out great. I do my best with the gifts that people give me, but I'll always give it a try. If you're looking for examples of it, if you see me on NSFL, There's my gift sig that I made on there for myself. And I'm going to try to make one of Ricky Henderson um, for my own sig. So eventually you'll be able to take a look at that as evidence of my what I will call garbage skills, but I've been told by some people that I do okay. So I guess now I'll talk about the Swifties and their or our I should say our championship win. That was pretty exciting to watch. It went to 5 games, which I believe was the max that it could go to. Um, and those were really intense. There was one game that went to extra innings, and oh come on, there we go. Speedy Boy didn't do very much during the 5 games. There, I was actually walking home from work when it started. I didn't know what was happening, and then the first game happened, and that was where Speedy Boy actually did something. He got a double, so he got to second base, and there was somebody on second who got home from that hit. Then he stole third, and then somebody behind him hit a home run. So, in all, he was involved in 3 runs that game, if you want to say that he was a part of the home run. So that was pretty cool. Um, and then I think later in the series there was one time where he tried to steal a base because he could never get on base other than that one, um, and he got thrown out, and that was pretty annoying because I put all my TP into stealing and speed, and then that happens. Come on. But it's not a huge deal. We won. That was really exciting. It was great to hear the person who was doing the broadcast. He was reading the what's it called the chat on the Twitch stream and talking about all the funny stuff we were saying. Every time Speedy Boy was up to bat, I would say Speedy Boy reporting for duty. That was pretty fun. Oh my gosh. Come on, hit him. Rip. Didn't even get the gold ring. So I'm not sure what'll happen next season. I wrote an article about it, uh, how I feel about the draft and all that. And I'm not really worried about where I end up. Apparently the Providence Crabs are a pretty good team. I don't really know. I know there's a team called the Vandals. I don't really know the names of any other teams than those two. But wherever I end up, I don't really care. Um, I'll play where they have me go. Uh, I wouldn't mind being in the minors for another season just to be able to watch Speedy Boy tear it up. That'd be pretty fun. And being with SLM and Beaver's pretty cool. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind that. But wherever I get drafted, I'll probably be happy. As long as there's nobody named Denkoa in there. I don't know why, but for some reason he's got an issue with me. I know why, but Some people need to let stuff go. It's whatever. Um, I could talk about the differences between SHL and NSFL, or PBE. I like. I'm sure everybody likes the fact that an activity check is worth 3 instead of 2 TPE. That was a pretty neat thing to find out. The late joiner TPE is a really great idea. I don't know who came up with that, but it definitely was nice to not have to start all the way from behind, being joining at the absolute worst time, which I didn't know about. I created my player, and it turned out that the trade deadline was like a day or two after I created. And I know once the trade deadline comes around, you can't create anymore for that season, and you can create, but you don't get to play until the following season, which would kind of suck. So I'm not super disappointed in what I did, but I know that eventually my player is going to be a little behind because other people have had the chance to do more activity checks and training. But I think I'll catch up with other people. If you know my player on SHL, I'm basically tied with a guy named Carey for uh, leading my draft class in TPE. Um, and actually, it turns out that I'm basically tied for leading my draft class on NSFL as well. That was pretty surprising, because I thought for a while that I was pretty behind. Turns out I just forgot to buy equipment at the beginning of the season. Oh my gosh. Just get hit. There we go. I actually almost forgot to buy my equipment on PBE this season as well. I got it in just in time. But when I bought it, I went to go look at how much money I had. I think my contract was only 500,000 for this season. That was a big disappointment. I've never seen such a small contract. So that might be the only reason I'd want to go up to the majors, is to have an actual decent contract so I don't have to do as much media and stuff, because as much fun as it is to write about Speedy Boy and my team, I don't have all the time in the world. Yeah. Rip. I tried to go over him. Give me that gold. So, at first, my idea was for Speedy Boy to just be a pinch runner. I'm not sure if that's a possibility, because I don't know if the sim allows you to specify players that you want to have like pinch run or pinch hit at the end of games. But if that's possible, I would not mind doing that for any GMs that are listening, because I know my player's probably not going to be someone that you want to be in the lineup for very long, or at least yet, because of his pretty crummy hitting stats. Rip. It's supposed to go that way. And eventually, when I get enough TPE, the whole hitting issue will change, and I'll be able to get a bunch of walks. But yeah, for now, Speedy Boy is going to be a little bit of a liability in the batting lineup. Sorry, not sorry. Something that was super nice was the explanation of attributes that was found in the rookie section, I think. Um, Other sim leagues didn't exactly have that right there. Uh, so I either had to ask people about it or go searching for it, which is fine. I'm willing to do that. But I know other people who join sim leagues, and not everybody's willing to take the time to do that, so they'll just say, okay, I'll put stuff into here and hope that it's good. And that's not really something that you want newer users to do, because either they'll find out that the stats they put into are garbage and they'll be like, well, I guess I'm screwed, or they'll get lucky and that's what you hope for, but it doesn't always happen. Um, I had a player on SHL put a bunch of TP into face-offs and then say, oh, that's not useful. Oh well, I guess I won't play anymore. And that sucked. Um, I guess I don't know. I have one thing I'd like to do that I can talk about. Although it doesn't directly relate to PBE. Uh, the idea is that all the users on PBE would do it together. Um, so emulators, depending on which one you get, I'm using an emulator to play this right now, can be really demanding, or they can be a Nintendo 64 emulator and not take that much power at all. Uh, and I'm pretty sure Dolphin, which is the GameCube emulator, doesn't take too much depending on which game you're playing. So I love playing Super Smash Bros. So my idea is that I will make a manual on how to download Dolphin, and I'll get an ISO for Super Smash Bros. Melee, and then people can download Dolphin in the ISO, and then we can all play it together, and eventually I'll put on a tournament. So, if you want to do that, hit me up, I guess, or just comment on this thread or whatever. And if there's enough interest, I'll put it together. Maybe there isn't, and then what I'll do is post it on the 3 different websites, and then people from NSFL, SHL, and PBE can all play against each other. It just depends on how many people you get that want to do it. And I'm sure there are people that'll want to do it, but don't have the time or the means. Uh, so that could be an issue. If you think you want to do this, I'd suggest getting a GameCube controller adapter because it is really, really hard to play Smash Bros. Without a controller. I tried doing it once, and you just get annihilated. It's hardly worth trying, just because you can't do all the moves like you would normally, even if you remap your keyboard to uh, be like a controller. It's just too difficult to relearn the controls. Um, and I'm pretty sure the adapter you can buy on like Amazon for like $5. So it's not so expensive that it wouldn't be something that most people could get. And if you have an Xbox controller, you can just use that instead. I have a PlayStation controller and I use that, so it's pretty accessible in my opinion. If you want to play, you shouldn't have too much difficulty. And the way that we'd get other people to play against each other is with something called netplay, which is already a part of Dolphin, so you wouldn't have to worry about connecting to some random servers or whatever. That's already taken care of. But I'll have to do a manual on that as well because it's not the most intuitive thing sometimes. That might be a fun little thing that we can do during the off season because PBE's been a lot of fun so far, but the off season seems to not really have much to do. Um, One thing I'll say about NSFL, they did something right where if you're a new player and you join the league at a time where normally on SHL and PBE you would be uh, you wouldn't be on a team basically. What they do is allow you to join a team on I think it's just like a 1 year contract, and it goes until the off season, and then after that you go into the draft like you normally would. So you don't just sit there doing nothing like in other leagues, which really ticks me off when leagues do that because what's a new player gonna do? They're just gonna sit there and they're gonna go inactive because they have nothing to keep them interested, right? So that was really smart. I actually thought that was what happened when I joined the league, but it turns out I had just joined before the deadline. Meanwhile, another player that joined probably was like, "Oh, okay, I can't wait to play," and then didn't get to be on a team and probably went inactive. And that can be a huge problem for smaller leagues like this. So, it's a pretty simple thing to remedy too, especially with the minor league teams, which have so many bots on them. They need players anyway, so why not just have a player that joins at any time during the season play on there? If they join after the deadline, they just go into the draft anyway. And if they join before, uh, then they can just go into the major league draft still. Yeah, Show the monkeys who's boss. Flew right into my lasers, you idiot. So that's something that if it's not being done, it really should be. Um, and if it is, I probably sound like someone who doesn't know jack shit, which is fine. I just joined a few weeks ago anyway, I shouldn't. I don't know if there's some sort of off-season tournament that happens, or if there's somebody who's willing to do that, but I think that'd be an interesting idea. Um, on SHL, I'm the co-head for Czechoslovakia, and there's the World Junior Championships that happen every season. Um, so I don't know if that'd be something that could be done. I don't know if people actually pay attention to where players are born, but I know on MLB Road to the Show there's the Central, West, East, and then International. Um, could do something like that, where players are divided up into those four groups based on where their player was born, and then have a four-team tournament that way. So I think that'd be a fun idea. Because the off season can get a little bit boring. So there has to be some stuff to keep people involved, I think. Or to take the place of that, there could be the Smash Bros tournament. That could become an annual thing. And that'd be another way to keep people involved, I guess. I don't know, maybe people could bid on it, so that would be a reason for them to pay attention to it. I'd be willing to run something like that, but I definitely need some help from other people to keep track of games that have been played and update scores and stuff. Make sure tournaments are on time and everything. But I'd definitely be willing to oversee that if nobody else was. Come on. This damn thing needs to die. There we go. It took long enough. So there's an idea. If anyone's interested in that, just say something and I'll start pursuing it. Shut up, Slippy. Oh man, I talked about my gift sigs. Talked about an off-season tournament. I guess I could talk about Speedy Boy and how he was born. I didn't really know what to put in the born section for where he was born. So I decided to say that he was born in a Coke machine. And that didn't get any pushback from the, what's it called? The people who approve players. So I guess that's okay. Speedy Boy was born in a Coke machine. What up, Andros? I think I mentioned in an article that I wrote that that's where Speedy Boy gets his speed from. And in another article, I talked about how his idol is Ricky Henderson, so all he does is practice his sprinting all day. So I guess I have a few conflicting articles on why Speedy Boy is so fast. But you can decide for yourself. Is he juiced up on sugar, or does he just love Ricky Henderson that much? I'm gonna go with he loves Ricky Henderson that much. And his mom lied on his birth certificate. He wasn't actually born in a Coke machine. Because that's just silly. Rip Andros. I beat it! Hooray! Um, let me tell you about the only time I played real baseball. I was in third grade, and I had played hockey since I was 5, so about 3 years. And my parents were trying to get me to enjoy something other than hockey because hockey's expensive. So I played baseball one summer, and during that summer I was playing with one of my ex-teammates, which actually made me want to play hockey instead again. So that didn't really work from the get-go, but I did like baseball, so I gave it a shot. And during my entire time, I only hit one ball when I was batting, and I didn't even actually register a hit for that because it was a grounder, and the kid picked it up, and instead of going to first base, he just stood in front of me and tried to get the tag. But I never watched baseball. I'd never actually played in a real league before or anything. So I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to keep running. And I ran straight to the base, and on the way, I ran the kid over. And I literally stepped on his chest. And I just kept going. And I tried standing there because I was like, well, I got past him, so I'm not out yet, am I? And everybody was just like, what the hell's wrong with you, kid? So I got in a little bit of trouble for that. But that's one baseball story. We didn't win any games that season. We were the Sand Gnats, which is just a terrible name. Why would anyone want to be a gnat? Um, and I don't think it was a very serious league because we played some kids that were way older than us, and they beat us like 13-0. So that wasn't fair. But I don't think anyone really cared. Nobody in that league was going to go on to play any serious baseball. representation is just bad. So that's my one baseball experience. Well, 1 year of baseball experience, and I was in the outfield the whole time. So there was that. The other memory I have is walking past the stands and me making a gesture as I passed my mom because she was watching. And it wasn't a good gesture. Um, she yelled at me and pulled me off the field, and then I had to go back on the field after being yelled at in front of these people by my mom. So that was a pretty quick way to ruin an 8-year-old's day in the middle of a game. Yeah, so that's some background on me. Look at him go. It's just such a great, fun game. Looks like Slippy's falling behind, and Falco's getting closer to Fox. Huh. So I'm not really sure what else I can talk about. I gotta fill up another 13 minutes. Good lord. I guess I already talked about how cool the sim is. This is terrible to listen to, and I'm sorry. I need the money though. I can show off my SIGs, I guess. Uh, Not really to show off, but to show that I can make SIGs. This is one I made for a player for Team Czechoslovakia on SHL. I made this for Dr. Telfer, or however you say it, Chris Bennett. I had a really tough time with this because the ball moves so far. It takes up probably a third of the space of the entire GIF, and I couldn't find a great picture of Kyle Hendricks. So, and then this whole part up here is taken up by the batter. So that was pretty tough. If you want to see a really, really bad SIG, Speedy Boy. I'm going to be replacing that very soon. Um, so that'll have a better representation of my ability to make signatures. I also made some other SIGs for SHL. Crap. There it is. And they should show better that I can make SIGs. Let's see. Oof, that one's really bad. Don't look at that. I made one for a goalie. Here we go. So, there's the GIF over here, and then that in the background. Here's my football one. So, if anybody wants a SIG for PBE, Just message me. I'm Caltroit Red Flames, spelled like that. Um, aw, thanks Discord. I think that's about all I got. I didn't have a whole lot to say from the beginning, and now I've just slowly divulged into sighing half the time and saying the other half. So if you watched, thanks for watching. Have a great day.